Don't swear. Oh, now we're hot. Okay. Yo.
That's right.
I want to say something entertaining. I got nothing.
I'm not even.
Oh, good morning.
I can't.
Did you sleep? Wait, am I hosting? I'm not hosting.
Take it away, my friend. Go ahead.
What in the world? Hello, everybody. Welcome as we break down. Oh, I guess I am hosting here at the get-go. So I guess that there was a miscommunication. I promise that this is not going to be what we do, but welcome everybody to the PGA show. We are presented by Monkey Knife Fight here today. I'm Eric Lindquist. Very excited to be here breaking down some golf content. I'm going to be doing the analyst side of things, but I know the one Ben Rasa, who I'm going to introduce, he deserves this introduction. He hasn't gotten the full effect of Eric Lindquist, host Eric Lindquist, pumping him up, the brainiac behind all of the college football content that we have going, just the maker of the Awesemo odds channel. That thing is growing by leaps and bounds every single day, thanks to his tutelage. Ben Rasa at JazzRaz DFS. How you doing, my dude?
I'm good. I'm here. Don't worry. I'll take control of the show. Thank you, my friend, for that lovely introduction. We are here to talk a little Bermuda Championship on this lovely Wednesday night. I know it's not the biggest golf tournament. I've been saying that week after week, but there is money to be made, and that's what we're about to do here tonight, Eric. I know you've been in the NBA streets. I know you got some big things on the life horizon coming up, but don't lie. I know you're a little excited about seeing if Mito or Fitzy or Bez or one of these guys can break through and grab a win in a hurricane-like condition.
I mean, let's just play every Euro in the field and move on with our week. How does that sound? Does that sound fun?
It sounds pretty damn good, and we're going to get things started right there. Before I do, though, I'm just going to quickly mention our friends, our sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight, player prop-based contest, easy to play, not a huge time commitment. This is a site that if you haven't been over there and given it a try, there's no better time to do it. Get ready before the golf season really pumps up. This is a great time to experiment with golf. They've got NBA, they've got UFC, certainly the NFL as well. Get started. Go over to monkeyknifefight.com. Choose which game you want to play, your contest type, your buy-in level, and even better, you've got that instant first match deposit bonus of up to $100 when you sign up with that promo code Awesemo. So no reason not to do that. Go and check that out. We're going to get to some of those picks in just a second, but before we do, let's get to the weather. Let's get to the withdrawals. I don't know why anyone would honestly want to play in this golf tournament, but apparently there's still 130 golfers that have made the trek to Bermuda. They are going to be faced, Eric, with some serious conditions. Talk to me about what you've seen from the weather.
It's only gotten worse as we've gotten closer here to lock. So Thursday is going to be windy. There'll be a little drizzle maybe, but no, we're looking at Friday being a disaster. There's supposed to be lightning in the forecast as well. I doubt they play much golf. It's supposed to be a monsoon, hurricane-like conditions, as you said, 20 plus mile per hour winds. That means you get gusts up to 30. I mean, that's just 21 miles per hour is what I'm looking at sustained. It's going to be ridiculous if they do end up teeing off then on Friday, which means then Saturday is kind of what you're looking at in the event that ends up being a wash. Saturday doesn't look a whole lot better. 30% chance of precipitation. We're seeing some wind again in the forecast there for Saturday. And then Sunday, hey, I see sunshine, but 10 mile per hour wind. It's still, going to gust more than that. We're in the Bahamas, baby. It's going to be weird. Ben, what are you looking at?
We're certainly not in the Bahamas, but it's all deadly. That's neither.
That's not what I meant. Sorry. Yeah, but you know what I meant.
We're in the islands, baby, and that counts.
The islands.
It's all if you round. I'm lumping in all the islands in the world into Bermuda, but this is my take on this, and I want to hear kind of how you would break this down. Sometimes, Eric, you talk about this a lot. Obviously, you can tee time stack. You can find a weather edge. The problem here, it looks so bad that it's almost, to me, impossible that there's not going to be a stoppage of play. And if you get one stoppage of play, everything that you kind of planned for is almost out the window. So what do? Do you say, I'm going to stack some things up? Do you lean to one side? Or do you say, you know what, I can't quantify this, I'm going to play it straight up?
Now that I'm looking at the right weather tower, that's probably a better thing. So Thursday, we're looking at precipitation here. Yeah, this Thursday looks awful too. Friday is actually the one that looks decent enough here. Saturday, Sunday being a monsoon with lightning, we're not going to play golf either of those days. This might just get rained out. This will be really enjoyable. Maybe a Monday finish. Yay!
Yeah.
Everybody loves that. That's probably the most likely result as I'm looking at this in the moment. I'm good at my job. Here we go. Thursday, I'm definitely going to. Yeah, you're going to have to do some wave kind of decisions here. So what happens is that looks like from the morning, like right off the bat, this might be kind of a reverse idea of what you're looking at. 7 a.m., 25 mile per hour winds going up until about 4 p.m. when it goes down to 20, and then it dips off a little bit towards night. I mean, what's sunset going to be 6:30 still? We haven't had daylight savings time. So that it's going to be windy the entire day there. Friday, you're just kind of hoping that you get the right draw of it, but it's hard to really know what that's going to be. It looks like evening's going to be better off there. It looks like both tee time groups are going to get one bad end of it. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. And then Saturday, Sunday, it does not look good.
No, I mean, it's always a little difficult to plan for weekend wind because A, your golfer might not make it, and B, that's so far away that things can really change. I didn't see any clear path from the tee times where I said, okay, this is where we need to be. This is the guy we need to focus on. So I'm playing it straight up. Are you, I know I had to ask you this, but you're playing, I don't know how many lineups you're playing, but are you going to allocate some different scenarios to try to cover all the bases per se?
Yeah, I have 150. I'm doing the 150 I normally. Yeah, no. You. Why not? Yeah, no, I'm an adventurous individual. Here we go. Just fire the clip before I get married, and then what are you playing for PGA this week? Let me know from the wife. It'll be an enjoyable conversation. But yeah, I'm looking at this entire golf tournament as one that you kind of do want to maybe take some shots on it. We see it happen all the time in the British Open, or the Open Championship, however you want to call it, where you don't even necessarily see it in the forecast, and then it just works out a certain way. I don't know if I'm going to go nuts where I'm going to have like 5 or 6 from every single draw, but I think maybe kind of leaning towards a certain stack, maybe having, something where you have a group where you get one of the 10K players, and then I want to get all of them aligned. It's very easy to do in Fantasy Cruncher, where you're able to group them by the tee times. You're able to put it all together pretty simply. You can group and look at the tee times. I mean, you can kind of see exactly who's going to be in those last couple groups. If there's anybody getting some exposure that you'd want to get to a little bit late. So for me, I'm going to probably do a little bit more grouping than I normally do, but I'm still not going to stop myself from getting to the guys that I want to get to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really, it's always something we have to take into account, but I don't think you need to override what you wanted to do originally in this situation with this weather. Let's get to Monkey Knife Fight. We brought them up before. Really cool format. Some of the things they've got over there, you're looking at more or less. You're looking at rapid fire, basically how many over, under, how many birdies. One of them that they had that I was, I don't know, a little puzzled about was Brian Gay. Over under 16 and a half birdies. To me, that's a pretty clear under. I know that he is had some serious success at this type of course and this course specifically, but to me, I'm going to go under on the birdies there, and I'm going to take Fitzy over him in the rapid fire. Was there anything that stood out to you when you look at the Monkey Knife Fight and the vast selections that they have?
Yeah, so I am going to be shorting. I mean, you've got Brian Gay next to Matthew Fitzpatrick for the same amount of birdies. I'm just going to throw it out there that that's wrong.
Yes.
So you should maybe kind of take advantage of things like that. But I like the less on the fantasy points for him and Christian Bezaden, who 91 and a half. We're going to talk about him. I know that that's Jason Rossland's guy, and I don't like being at odds with him. We've done enough in our Jordan Spieth conversations back and forth to last us a lifetime of animosity and disagreement. But 91 and a half fantasy points. We are looking at a spot where that's still going to be something he has to get to. You get 5 points for an eagle or better. I don't see a lot of eagle or betters happening with this amount of wind. And it's not necessarily just because of, there's gettable par fives, but the wind is going to play such a big factor in terms of just holding putts. I mean, that's kind of the underrated part about wind is how hard it can be to really account for it when you're on the greens, when things are rolling faster than they are at your local municipal golf course. So I'm looking at shorting just about everybody that I possibly can in the event that you get some really, really bad wind. I don't want to be picking on Matthew Fitzpatrick too much. I'm not going to be playing a ton of him in DFS, and we'll get to that here too. But also 92.5 fantasy points for him and Matt Fitzpatrick next to each other. As much as Patrick Reed, I want him to rebound here. I like the less than on that as well. We're going to see wind. We're going to see weather. And I think that really does kind of make it difficult to see scoring being something that happens, and with no placement points either. That's not going to be something that happens on Monkey Knife Fight. From a fantasy aspect with their scoring, give me less on just about everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you. They can't factor in the weather to the extent that we're going to see. So give me short that across the board. Take advantage and pad the bankroll. That is why you want to get over there, use that promo code Awesemo. Let's get into it. You just talked about some of the top tier. Fitzy leads us off in pricing at 11,000. Bez 10,700. Mito 10,500. Patrick Reed and Seamus. You've got some really, a major winner in there in Patrick Reed. Fitzy hasn't won anything over here. How do you go about this? Obviously, some of these guys are overpriced, but they're not considering the strength of this field.
Yeah, they're not overpriced whatsoever. Again, I want to make Patrick Reed a thing up here. I want to make Matthew Fitzpatrick a thing. For me, it just comes down to playing more of the ownership game than you would on a normal golf tournament here. And I understand we talk about Euros. I mean, Russell Knox jumping and vaulting to the top of our ownership because he is the ball striking god from Scotland. So there you go. Matthew Fitzpatrick right behind him. 25% is too much at this golf tournament. We're going to see some wacky things happen. And, back in my day growing up in South Dakota, I always thought that wind does kind of narrow down the pool of player a little bit, but there's also going to be some wonky things that you just have to disregard. When you hit a shot and you're hitting a 4-iron from 150 into a headwind, and then all of a sudden you're hitting 9-iron from 210 because you've got a 35-mile-an-hour wind at your back. That's the kind of stuff that happens in a golf tournament like this. I think at the PGA Tour level, it is going to narrow it down a little bit more. I think it's pretty easy for me to come in underneath the field on Fitzpatrick, underneath the field on Bazenhout, and under the field on Mito Pereira, and start my builds with Patrick Reed working down.
No doubt about it. And the reason I wanted to bring up that board just quickly, and we'll get back to them in a second, is there was a common theme. All of these guys are relatively good putters, short hitters, and that's because Port Royal Golf Course, let's talk about this course. It's one of the shortest that they're going to see all year. It is well under 7,000 yards. It's a par 71. You've got 3 really gettable par 5s, some short par 4s. Now the weather, when we've seen this, it played much harder last year. Several quotes from several players all about how the wind can change. It can get very, very aggressive. And I think we're going to see that here. But when you look at the course, I think it's pretty clear, to me at least, you don't need distance. You need to know how to work, shape your shots, work it around. Because on any given hour, the course can flip and play 20, 30, 40 yards longer on any hole.
Yeah, and then you only have 3 par 5s, but all 3 par 5s are a joke. Yep. I mean, it's like resort golf. It's just like they're the 3 easiest holes on the golf course, and they should be. I mean, 553 is nothing for these guys. And then you get the other 2 par 5s that are both under 520. That's just kind of a joke. But as I'm saying, I still think eagles are going to be harder to come by on a week like this because of wind, because of conditions. Not going to be ideal to be able to just go out there and make 3s on par 5s, but the rest of this golf course does get a little bit wonky. The back 9 plays very, very difficult. You get 13, which is just a brutal golf hole. 16, you have two 235-yard par 3s that sit there on the back 9. I mean, really, a lot of this golf tournament is going to come down to how you play that back 9 stretch, 13 to 16. I think having some guys that might be, just a slight bump for some long iron play, especially because if you get some of this wind and such, I mean, yeah, you got to be accurate with your wedges, and that's going to be something that is still going to be factored in on a shorter golf course like this. But you're looking at some of these holes that could play substantially longer. And so for me, I'm giving a little bit of a bump to some long iron play, and that's going to be changing my builds towards a little bit more strokes gain approach than what I was anticipating coming in.
Yeah, I think you do. I think that's a sharp call by you. Again, the wind can make this course play significantly longer, potentially. I don't know how much shorter it could really play, but I think you do need to experiment with some iron ranges, look at some long iron players. Certainly, you're going to want some putters, and I think scrambling can be factored in just because when you have wind like this, we just don't know. Maybe this is just one of those outlier situations where you have to be a little bit more careful. But I think you do need to experiment with some iron ranges, look at some long iron players. Certainly, you're going to want some putters, and I think scrambling can be factored in just because when you have wind like this, we just don't know. Maybe this is just one of those outlier type weeks. I do want to say we've done a couple shows in recent weeks. We've had 70 something golfers to choose from. There was no cut. Cuts are back. We've got 132 man field here, top 65 in ties. If you are new to PGA DFS, you're going to try to get those guys through the cut. 6 of 6 is going to be important. Not as important as a birdie fest, but still that is what we want to do. So I assume you're just going back to your very, standard full field event type strategy.
Yep, I am. It's beautiful. It's great to have it back.
It is.
I mean, it's strange because no cut events, it's enjoyable because generally the fields are better. Obviously, we didn't get the stronger field in Japan, but I absolutely love these cut events, and especially in the fall swing. Like these are like, this golf tournament is abysmal. Don't get me wrong. It's egregiously bad, but in the event that it does get played here, I mean, I'm thinking just with the cuts and such, there's just so much more strategy. It's so much more enjoyable to kind of, you don't have everybody diluted where a 10th place and a 20th place can be factored. The 20th person vaults up because of birdies and such. It's just more fun to have it be something where you succeed by getting 6 of 6 through, and that matters so much, as opposed to 5 of 6 being able to kind of just be having bad plays basically get there because of one round of golf.
It's certainly, from a sweat standpoint, I prefer cuts because, I don't have to pay attention on the weekend after I have like one guy make it through the cut. You also kind of know where you stand if you do have 6 of 6 through. These non-cuts, it really comes down to Sunday afternoon. You can't tell where you are. I don't like that in the Birdie Fest. This will be a much truer test in that sense, that if you can get 6 through and you can get to the Sunday where conditions might lessen, you're going to pick up points on the field. And that is, of course, very important. So now let's get back to the top of the board. You mentioned some of these guys. You like Reed. I have no problem with that. I mean, right now, I think it's clear that he's not playing like the best player, but I think nobody would argue that he's far and away the best player here. I mean, this is Patrick Reed against guys that have had some success here and there, but most of them haven't even won on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, yesterday. So I did the show with Jason, and the ownership has flipped substantially. So I have a lot of different kind of opinions as things have kind of, when you start with the golf ownership, it really is kind of the dartboard idea. And I think about this for NFL all the time, where everything becomes condensed and the picture becomes clearer and clearer by the time you get to lock. And now what I'm looking at is just completely different. I thought Fitzpatrick and Beasenhu would be a part of my builds. They're just not at 18 and 25%. Mito Pereira is a pass. Patrick Reed, I said I'm going to probably be at the field. I don't know if I like him as much, but Seamus Power, I'm going to have a ridiculous amount of. He was at 8%. Now he's at 13%. So he's trending up, but I don't care. I just want to get to absolutely a crazy amount of him. We're talking about the way that we are building these lineups. And for me, it's strokes gained approach and around the green game. Well, he's 11th and 2nd in those two categories, respectively, in the course of the last 50 rounds amongst everybody. That becomes just a clear circle. Play the guy. Matthew Fitzpatrick, even amongst this field in the last 50, I will say he gets penalized more than others, as does Patrick Reed compared to this field, because they get into more fields, and the fields that they get into, generally scoring isn't as good. So we always have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because, Matthew Fitzpatrick playing in a PGA Championship in a US Open counts as one of his past 50 rounds, the same way that Seamus Power playing in Kentucky the week that he ended up breaking through, or, playing in an alternate field event counts against him.
Well said. I mean, when you're playing only the elite events, you're going to look, you're also playing against much better competition. So it's like, oh, this guy hasn't had a top 20. Yeah, but he's playing against the best in the world. Now, I don't think that's the problem with Reed. Reed's just playing bad golf right now. There's no doubt in my mind. Seamus is a well-rounded player. Talk to me a little more about Mito. I mean, he's someone that's really burst on the scene. He's at the Olympics, really good. 3rd at the Fortnite, 31st, 40th. The guy is an iron machine. He just seemingly can't really putt.
Yeah, but we've seen some opportunity. The 3M, he putted really, really well. That's the one that sticks out in my mind. The last 2 times out, it's definitely trended down in recent weeks. The Fortinet, he was flat. And if he's flat, you're going to see him succeed, because amongst everybody in this field, once again, just the elite of the elite as far as ball striking goes, number 1 in this field over the course of the last 50 rounds, which for me is enough of a short-term sample and long-term sample combination. That's kind of why I ideally land on that. But 4th in strokes gained approach, but around the green and putting, definitely kind of a weaker part of it. these are the kind of golf tournaments when you get a ton of wind and stuff, you are going to get your short game tested. You just are. At some point, something wacky is going to happen, and you're either going to be able to adjust for it or you're not. You're not going to be able to just go out and be a stripe show for 4 days. That's not how this works in wind. So I give him a little bit of a dock compared to a guy like Seamus Power, who's just elite of elite around the greens, has such a great ability to kind of combine that with a long iron game. Just think he's better suited for it. And considering Mito's coming in a little bit higher owned, flip-flop the ownership if you want in 150s. I'm not going to get to zero, Mito. I'm not going to get to zero of anybody above that, but I'm definitely going to be under 10% on all of those guys above Patrick Reed.
When you look at the next range, I mean, I'd say it falls off a cliff, but I don't even know if there's a cliff to fall off of. Hayden Buckley, okay. Matthias Schwab, Chad Ramey, Hadwin, Willett, who's certainly fits a lot of the boxes in terms of hard conditions, Euro, Taylor Pendrith, Patrick Rogers. Talk to me about the nines and what you see here.
I see Adam Hadwin. I like Adam Hadwin. I like Chad Ramey. I don't like Matthias Schwab very much. Do you like Matthias Schwab?
I mean, I like him in life. There's no doubt about it. He's one of my favorites. We haven't seen him do much over here. He can't putt. I don't know what to really say of him. I see why you don't like him, and it's hard to argue based off what we've seen recently.
Matthias MC Schwab. There you go.
Ooh,
if you want to go with that, you're welcome. I'm just saying it's what I got here. It's results speak, but he's fine. Again, everybody's fine. You can draw a lot of cases and kind of land on a lot of different guys up in this 9K range, and it's hard to really disagree. We'll get to my guy just underneath it. I'm still going to be going right back to the well on him, and I think he looks even better now with this forecast. But Chad Ramey is probably my favorite of the grouping. He still is coming off of yesterday, 4th in DK points amongst this field as well. We got to look at this field compared to everybody else. And of course it's completely garbage. It's garbage. It's a garbage field, but Chad Ramey, 4th in DK points here. We haven't seen a ton of him. I still want to keep track on him here. All these Korn Ferry Tour guys, but you want to be early to the party. And we saw him just repeatedly top 15 in the Korn Ferry Tour level. For all intents and purposes, this is a Korn Ferry Tour event with random upside players that we've seen here scattered amongst them.
I have no problem with that. I agree that he's firmly in play. It's not an overpriced or anything like that. I do want to make the case for Danny Willett specifically if you think it's going to be really bad. I mean, Danny Willett is built, think about when he won the Masters, like he is built for difficult, brutal, windy tracks. And I think that his around the green game is as strong as anybody. I wouldn't build them with pure iron players, but if you think somehow the winning score is like sub 10 under, I think you go to Danny Willett and hope that it really, really gets bad.
That's my dude. I'm obsessed with Danny Willett. We just saw him put together some nice rounds at the Dunhill in a bunch of wind. It got really, really ugly there that Sunday. He putted out of his damn mind. So let's keep some kind of context there. You're going to have to putt well, but that's kind of what you need out of anybody there. I think Danny Willett is probably the one guy that I would call underpriced when we're talking about the entire field. Above 9K specifically. I mean, Patrick Rogers, I guess you could maybe make that case for as well, but I'm just saying it's disturbing. This is not the tournament we deserve, but it's the tournament we've been given. And so building lineups accordingly, Danny Willett going to be a big part of my builds.
Yeah. I think it's weather specific in a lot of ways, and we just don't know, which is why he deserves to be in the pool. Are you comfortable with Patrick Rogers? I mean, I see some things that I like. He's got the combination off the tee and putting, which I don't think jives perfectly with this course, but at the same time, it can still be effective anywhere if you're putting it in the fairway and you're making your putts.
Yeah, if you're not hitting it in the middle of the sea out there, if you're finding land, it's probably going to be a good thing. Land is good. The Atlantic Ocean. I didn't want to be incorrect again. I already said the wrong place.
Not a lie if you believe it, my friend. Who knows?
It's not a lie if you believe it, but also you're still an idiot in that event. But I'm looking at 9K Patrick Rogers. For me, 11.6% of him is better than Adam Hadwin, 19.7% of him. Hadwin was my guy in this 9K range yesterday, but you got to play a little bit of an ownership game. I'm not going to play anybody who's projecting for 20% at 20%. That's not the golf tournament that I think you should be looking at doing that. So I'm much happier going to Patrick Rogers at 11.6%. Another guy who has definitely shown some upside in the Fortinet and shown some upside in a lot of these random golf tournaments. tall dude. Hopefully he can just stay stable in the wind. How about that for analysis?
Look at that. That is the hard hitting analysis that you're going to get. If you want more things like that, sign on up. We've got promos going. I know Curry just expired, but PGA Live Before Lock, all one word. You're going to get 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's going to cover you, of course, for PGA. You're going to get a week of NBA. You're going to get the week of NFL. You're going to get all the tools and ownership that we have, not just on the DFS side, but on the betting side as well. I know Odd Chopper has launched, and it's been a great time. Me and Eric have been using it along with the whole team. Really, really helps breaking it down. So if you're a fan of that, the Awesemo Odds YouTube channel will have you covered, and certainly go check out Odd Chopper. But PGA Live Before Lock, all one word. Use that upon checkout and save some money for yourself. Let's move to the next range. You've got Thomas Detry leading us off. Thigala, Guido, Scott Stallings, Denny McCarthy, a vast, mix of players here. Help me sort through this. Where were you drawn in the upper eights?
So the upper eights are actually way more fun for me, I think. Let's see. Let's go back to it. Sahith Thigala, I'm a mark for, but it's 16.4% again. People are basically playing guys who have treated them well in the last 3 weeks. And that's the only way that I can justify that ownership. Did I get that correct?
I think so. I think swing season recency bias is even more so, and box score hunting is even more so, because I don't think I'm alone in saying this. Football, NBA, you're just not thinking of golf as often. So people say, oh, this guy, what'd he do? Oh, he came in 3rd and 7th. He's playing great. Let me click him again. And I think a lot of that can be overblown, of course, when you're switching courses and switching venues.
I made 21 birdies and an eagle at the Sanderson Farms. He put up 113 and only finished 8th. I mean, he was a guy that was a major part of being successful at that golf tournament at 6,800. But I think it's reflected in his ownership now. And so I have to go elsewhere. I just do. And it pains me, because it's like playing roulette. Okay. You're playing roulette. You want to hit your numbers. You do.
That's true.
19, I play 4, I play 19, I play 23, I play 33. Those are my 4 numbers. You want to hit your numbers. That's what you want to do. But guess what? The other numbers are just as likely to come out. So it doesn't really matter. You shouldn't give a shit. So for me, I'm looking at it as like, for me, 19, that guy is 19, but I'm getting an advantage by going to just about anybody else in this range in a golf tournament that is, by all intents and purposes, as unpredictable as it gets. I would rather play Detry. I would rather play Guido now at 8.3%. I would rather play, for God's sakes, Scott Stallings. I would rather play than Thigala now at 16.4%. So when I say I'm playing the ownership game, I'm playing it because in a vacuum, they're all the same dude. We're going to kind of just have that be a wash. That's kind of a pun because it's going to be raining like crazy, but Thigala, it's just an overpay in this spot. I can't do it anymore.
So, roulette, man. I got an unhealthy relationship with roulette. Do love that wheel, but
see you in Vegas. Let's go,
man.
I know a guy.
Is another guy though. For me, I think that we need to classify him potentially right now as someone that can really destroy an easy course. I'm not sure that he's the ideal candidate to grind out some ugly conditions where you're scrambling, where you're not just target hunting. I think that's a big red flag for me. And that is why I think in the swing season, box score hunting can be, dangerous. You look at Sanderson Farms, he gained across the board, but that was a totally different situation. That's all about scoring. This is going to be much more technical. This is going to be much better for a guy like Guido. I think much better for a guy like Steven Yeager, who has shown the ability to really get up and down at times. I don't know if he's as good a player as Thigala, but I don't think that it matters in certain conditions. So I looked at those guys before I would go to him. I have no feel on Detry, I'll be honest. Play him sometimes in Europe. It's hard to know where he's at. It doesn't look like he's been doing much.
Nah, he's probably, I don't know. I was thinking about it. I'm not going to do it. It's so sad that I can't play Thigala, but I just can't. It's going to be popular and there's no way. Yeager, number 1 in strokes gained around the green. We've talked about him repeatedly here. I've tried to make him a thing. He's not a thing yet. He's not a thing yet. Sanderson Farms was decent enough. And of course, 4.3 strokes gained around the green, 3.5 putting. The Shriners, the miscut, we're not going to see him have many. I'm just based off of what I've seen and from what I've heard on the Corn Ferry Tour, because there's a number of guys. I mean, obviously my buddy Baker is back and forth between the PGA Tour and there, but we've got the Sanderson Farms. That's going to be more indicative of the kind of player that he is. He's going to lose strokes gain off the tee, but if everybody's spraying it around this golf course, he's the guy you want on your team. He's the guy that I think has the kind of upside to just kind of withstand conditions. You want guys who can get it up and down out of a trash can, and I think he's one of those guys.
Again, I can't harp on it enough. Certain guys for certain builds, I wouldn't put someone like that in a like flag hunting birdie fest type lineup. I would put him maybe with Willett and stuff like that. Not necessarily only with him, but that's how I'd look. But you mentioned playing the game theory in a field like this. I think it's a very sharp call. So then can I interest you in Garrick Higo, who's only 4.5% projected ownership? He could be one of the lowest owned guys in the 8K range.
I was going to have zero interest. And yesterday I had legitimately zero interest, but this feels like a spot where you got to get to somebody who's as talented as he is under 5%. I would be remiss if you didn't play the ownership game in every single range and just say, oh my God, why is Garrick Higo under 5%? Well, it's because he's been terrible lately. But when you get this crazy kind of condition stuff, you don't really have the ability to think when you're out there. You don't have the ability to kind of self-sabotage yourself or have somebody shoot 8 under and then you're in the afternoon wave and you're trying to force the issue. And I think Higo is a guy that even 67, 71 at the Shriners, that's better than what it looks like. He missed the cut on the number, 138 there, 10 birdies, 6 bogeys, 4 under. There was nothing really wrong there. It's just a golf tournament where you had to play a little bit better than that. So, I mean, as far as like recent form goes, yeah, is he as good as everybody to the field at the moment? No, but I think he's going to be more talented long-term than Ryan Armour. He's going to be more talented long-term than David Lipsky. He's going to be better long-term than even guys up there further, the Matthias Schwab at 9,700. So I think just a talent bet under 5%, you got to do it. So I'm probably going to get over the field now.
I think that's a luxury of someone who has enough lineups. He's a really good addition to a portfolio. I see no reason to go there in single entry or 3 max. I think it's just the miscut equity is really high. He's not playing well at all. I don't think he's going to play well. That doesn't mean he shouldn't be part of your teams this week, because if you get that right and you're, only a couple dozen people have him in small fields, that could be this is a winner on the PGA Tour. This is a guy who has experience in Europe. More so, I think, going low than grinding, but that's okay. He's still a player, no doubt about it. Let's talk about the high 7s, because I actually like this range. You've got Mark Hubbard, I think, is in play. Nick Hardy's been good. Peter Uihlein, Russell Knox, who you alluded to earlier in the show, just ridiculous ownership right now. So what do you do there? Do you go to a guy like Knox? Do you pivot to Uihlein, or is there somebody else that you see that is worthy of getting those shares?
You want to talk about people just clinging to a narrative. They see a Scottish flag next to his name and it's just over. People lose their damn.
He's lived in Florida for like 2 decades now, I feel like.
And everybody loses their minds. A little bit of that. Sorry, apologize, but we're back.
Dark Knight's been on TV. I'll let that go. I
want to see how he's got these scars. I know how you got your scars. It's all bad putters.
Russell Knox related.
Russell Knox related.
Honestly.
Well, Peter Uihlein's your boy. He played on the Euro Tour for a long time. So if you want to cling to a narrative there, that seems like a fun one to cling to. I think at his current ownership, I would much rather go to him than Russell Knox. Again, this Russell Knox thing, I get it. Trust me, I get it. He's a great ball striker. Conditions are going to suck. He's from Scotland. We expect that kind of stuff. But I mean, a lot of where he's popped in certain spots has been just like going deep. I know he's played well in Connecticut a couple times. The Wyndham, that's not really popping up as a spot. He's been really, really bad recent form, other than, Sanderson's top 30. But I mean, there were a bunch of guys who scored well there. I don't get it. I don't understand it. You just got to play less Russell Knox. There's no way around it. If he's the piece that beats you this week at 7,700, I mean, I don't feel like I'm giving up anything going to Herbert, going to Uihlein, going to Hubbard. I like that call by you there. I mean, they're all under 10%. Don't play the name in a golf tournament that's unpredictable.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. I like Russell Knox. I've targeted him throughout his struggles, and that's because he was super cheap and super low owned at times. Russell Knox is not some like Graham McDowell type player that he's built for this. Russell Knox is a pure iron ball striker. He wants very calm conditions. He can't really putt, but that's besides the point. He's an approach specialist, not a wind specialist by any stretch. He's going to game with the irons. He's not going to game with the putter. He's probably not going to gain around the green. So for me, give me Hubbard, Hardy, Uihlein, Herbert, Smalley, all over Russell Knox, factoring in ownership. I think on the surface, he's a fine play. I would pivot to basically every other player around him, though.
Yep. And one of them, there's only one piece of chalk that I'm going to be eating on this entire slate, like legitimately. And it's going to be just below him at Austin Eckroat. This is the only guy that I'm willing to. And people haven't seen him before. He's a kid out of Oklahoma State. And, there's a lot of people who are going to be unfamiliar with him. What was that?
I said, how many people are on Oklahoma State's golf team?
All of the good ones.
He's out of Oklahoma State. Oh, okay. Well, who else is? I want guys who didn't go to. Tell me if they didn't go to Oklahoma State at this point. My God, Uline, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, no kidding. Peter Uline was the it kid when I was around, when I was playing AJGAs, and you'd go to a golf tournament and everybody's like, "Oh, it's Peter Uline." I'm like, "No shit, it's the Titleist owner's son." Yeah, Acushnet. It's literally his dad was like the president or CEO of Acushnet, which owns Titleist. So his life has been difficult, but also fantastic golfer. And from all that I've heard, he's a lovely human being. So Peter Uline, please make me some money. That would be nice this week. But Austin Eckroat, he's going to be really, really good. I'm just throwing it out there right now. You talk to some of the guys that have played with him, the Euro guys, he bombs it. Like he's going to be a long hitter out there. He hits it around 320 on average. He's an absolute bomber, pure ball striker, but also I think the underrated part of his entire golf game in college, I mean, the guy can still light it up and putt it. For him, it just comes down to iron play. And he's kind of the one outlier guy where I think that long term, like we don't have enough data to really say he's this or he's that, but I can guarantee you it is putter and it's driving it for him. And it feels like that's going to be somebody that I'm just kind of mixing into lineups regardless of the way that they're built, because I just believe in the talent that much.
Yeah, and he's he's garnering some ownership, but it's nothing crazy. You certainly I don't think you have to be wildly deterred by that. I think that Alex Smalley is in a similar bucket as him. I really like this guy. He hasn't put it all together, but some of the starts going back, his best starts were, and you could say, oh, it was a weak field at Corrales year after year. Well, that sounds like the Bermuda coastal tracks, weak fields. He was 14th at Corrales and 21st in Corrales in these back-to-back years. He's making cuts through the swing season. He's made 3 of 4. I feel pretty good about this guy. He's a pretty well-rounded player, not going to be, low owned, but he's not going to be popular either. Just very indifferent on the ownership. Give me Alex Smalley at 7,600.
So I'm going to next level. This is what I've been planning to talk about the entire show. Guys who look like their cash game plays are extremely better plays under bad conditions like this, because they've proven time and time again in under different circumstances. Like I'm not hunting as much for the guys who have crazy amounts of upside where they're going to either win or they're going to miss the cut in some of these spots. Give me the guys who can go out and make cuts here in this spot, because they've proven that they don't necessarily make all these birdies to begin with. And if you get a low score where it's going to be 8 under, 9 under for a winning score, just getting 6 of 6 through where they have the opportunity to be there. I mean, if you get through and nobody's taking it deep, if the cut ends up being, 1, 2 under or something, was kind of where I was kind of gauging it. These kind of dudes who just get it done in a number of different ways look so much better than they do on a regular week.
Yeah. I mean, the way I would say that, because I totally agree, is that for me, I'd rather have a guy that's somewhat average across the board this week than a guy that does one thing at an elite level. Because in the wind like this, it can be like if you're a bomb like Cameron Champ, I would not want to target him here, not just because it's not a bomber heavy course, just because if they take away your best skill, you're toast. But some of these guys, okay, Alex Smalley, he has no glaring deficiency in his game. He's just pretty average in all 4 categories. I think that will serve him well in this because he'll be able to adjust. And I honestly see that a little with your boy Eckroat. I think his around the green is probably the weak part, but it's not weak to a level that's really concerning just yet. So I'm with you there. Then we get into, you got Grayson Sigg, Peter Malnati, Neesmith, Aaron Rye. You've talked about him a couple of times during swing season. Straka, Brian Gay, who loves this course. What else do you have in the 7s?
Yeah, it's crazy. I just can't believe how sharp the field is, just kind of avoiding Hagee there in that spot too, I suppose. But Brian Gay, the monkey knife fight special, Brian Gay, that's interesting to me. 7,100 under 2%. I think that you can probably pull the trigger on a little bit there. Aaron Rye was going to be a guy, you talk about a Euro. Now the ownership's there on him. He was way down there underneath 5% yesterday, now up to 10%. I still don't care. Compared to everybody else in the field, he is by far the most talented dude, I think, underneath 8K. Just right now, Austin Eckroat, I mean, I believe in long-term here coming in the next 2 years, just get ready for him. But Aaron Rai has proven to go out and win in some windy conditions as well. He won the lead in, I believe, for the Open Championship, the Scottish Open. So you want to talk about win, you want to talk about tough conditions. Give me a Euro guy like Aaron Rai. That was kind of, we joked a little bit at the top of the show where we should just play Euros, but like, I'm not going to be there on the Russell Knox chalk at 26%, but I think 10% isn't enough for Aaron Rai.
So one of the more interesting and polarizing guys in this field for me would be Graham McDowell. He has not played well. He has done nothing, but there's no guy that has more of a theme for a course than a guy like this. He is, I mean, just look at the wins. Corrales, OHL, Heritage. He was a runner-up at a U.S. Open. He RSM. I mean, it's so clear that he wants a windy coastal track, and that is the only place he can thrive in. How do you weigh something like that? You've got the recent form, which is terrible. You've got the long-term pedigree where you know that this is the exact type of course where Graham McDowell could thrive.
Yeah, Northern Ireland's finest,
Yes.
other than Rory McIlroy, it would seem. But, you know, whatever. Punta Cana, top 5 as well. Don't forget about that one. So we've seen it within the calendar year as well. Another coastal track, another spot where you get the wind, you get these kind of situations. He won that golf tournament, 2-3 years ago as well. I know that he won that golf tournament once upon a time, but this is definitely like a Graham McDowell. You should be clicking on his name because of what he does in these kind of spots. You know, for me, there's really not a whole lot of argument against it underneath 5%. There's not a single thing that I'm going to draw to. We know how his golf game operates. Just get the ball out there, find a way to get the ball in the hole. He's going to make putts over the course of any kind of long-term sample. It's just a question of, can he hit the ball well enough to compete at this level? I don't know if it's all there right now, but this is kind of the week to find out.
I mean, again, I think that he's worthy of consideration, specifically given the conditions. This is one of the few tournaments where he's relevant. I do think that Jason Duffner is also relevant, though, at 72. Jason Duffner quietly ended the year and began this one with a string of made cuts. His last missed cut was Rocket Mortgage at the beginning of July. He's gained tee to green in 6 straight events. This is a guy that I really think can hang in here. It's a short course. He's not going to be stressed. Jason Duffner at 72. Chalk him up for another 4 rounds of golf here. And at 7,200, you give me 4 rounds of golf, I will take that in a second.
Honorary assistant coach of Auburn, Jason Duffner. I got to walk Riviera with him. I believe it was 2012 Riviera. Wow. They were hosting the NCAA championships, walked around. They had Justin Thomas out there. They had Jordan Spieth out there, all these college up and comers. And I got to walk around for 6 holes with Jason Duffner on the back 9 because one of the kids from Auburn was paired with my buddy from Iowa State who played as an individual, Nate McCoy. And so I like Jason Duffner, easy guy to cheer for, just as low key and quiet and chill in real life as what you would expect. Super easy dude to cheer for, and strokes gain approach, strokes gain around the green, great. Always been legitimately one of the worst putters. He's very antsy on a greens, which is just the weirdest thing ever for somebody to be as flatline as what he is. There's definitely something there. Nobody in golf is immune to putting woes, but it's really bit him for the last couple of years. I'm cheering for him. I want that to kind of be this week here because, as you said, ball striking wise, he's just going to continue to gain. So if in the event that it is so sloppy and so bad out there, I think that he's an intriguing play, but at the ownership, I probably can't do it.
Here we go. We got Bo Hostler is at flat 7.
My dude.
But you know who's also at flat 7?
Bo Hogue.
Also at flat 7.
Adam Svensson. No, he's too low. Vincent Whaley.
Also at flat 7.
Oh my God. Kramer Hickok.
Also at flat 7. Who the hell is Ludwig Adberg? I've never heard that name in my life. I don't think we should be playing him, but I did want to give him a shout out on the show. Sweden's finest. Who do you like there? Do you like Hostler, who at times has showed flashes? Bo Hogue has been pretty consistent at making cuts, but really not giving you any finishing points. Or do you say, you know what? Let's just dump into the 6s.
I'm not convinced Ludwig Aberg is an actual person.
He doesn't have a picture. He's just got a flag. He's
got a flag, and he's got a T46 at the Scandinavian Mixed, hosted by Henrik and Annika, which is also a made-up event.
I'm rooting for this guy.
Oh my God. He's
He
totally going to
played
burn us
golf
now.
at Texas Tech. So did
Cool.
Hurley Long. That's
Yeah,
all I got on
fun
him.
story.
Kramer Hickok, is that a name that you can get behind? He was someone, again, he really should be a PGA Tour winner. Tough beat there at that marathon last year, but he's shown some flashes. I think he's got a good track record here. Yeah, 15th and 8th. Maybe that's a Texan. Do you think people, the Texans who deal with wind more often, maybe are a little suited for something like this?
Yeah, scrambling kind of dude. Yeah, Kramer Hickok. Who did he lose to? It was Harris English, right?
Yeah, and like the 8, I think it went like 8 playoff holes.
Yeah, what a jerk off. Harris English, just
Oh,
absolute luck box. Well, in a nice way. He's just fine, but like give Kramer Hickok the opportunity to go out and win it.
tough
Phenomenal
beat by
around
him.
the green game. Putter, not even that phenomenal. Decent enough ball striker. He definitely is somebody to kind of to put into the portfolio. Anybody underneath. I mean, him and like Brian Stewart would kind of fit well together.
Yep.
Just short game specialist. I think putting those kind of plays together makes a lot of sense to me. Bo Hostler, putting him in that same grouping, good around the green, good putter, decent enough for other categories where I think you can get away with it in the event that, it's terrible for everybody out there. Because they're other players would have such an advantage on them in windy conditions in the event that, you needed a flag hunt and do some of that stuff. But in the event that you don't, Bo Hostler, him, I'm a big fan of this kind of range to really kind of plant a flag in a couple of these guys because the ownership is just not there the way that it is in the upper 7Ks.
So talk to me about the sixes then, because not that you need to spend up, but you may have to dip here if you go pretty aggressive in the 9s or whatnot. And really there's not a huge difference between what we're going to find. Now there's just a lot of names down here. And this is what I wanted to ask you about. A lot of guys that we really don't know much about. They just haven't had the experience on the PGA Tour. And then you've got guys like Jagus, you've got JJ Spawn, some of these other names that have been on tour. They just haven't clicked lately. What do you do here? Do you names catch your eye, or do you want to avoid this?
I will play Camilo Villegas in a field like this forever. Forever. Under 7K too. 6,800 for him in this field. He also feels like the kind of guy in some of these like lower tier events. I mean, not even just going to the Valspar in previous years, there's just more upside for him. RSM Classic is something that I kind of looked at as well. Last season, 6th in that. In some of these weaker field events, he's somebody that I always kind of gravitate towards. Feels like he plays up a little bit. His ceiling's elevated in a field where he feels like he can get after it. I feel like in some of these other stronger field events, he doesn't necessarily play up to his potential, but Camilo at 6,800 really sticks out in Alex's projections as well. So that's somebody I'm landing on quite a bit. Austin Cook, I was having a tough time kind of analyzing what I wanted to do with him. I'm probably not going to go there. The 11th at the Fortinet was kind of playing with me a little bit. The Barracuda looked pretty decent too. So this entire fall, the later part of this season, he's looked all right, but I'm probably going to go elsewhere in the range considering he's the only one picking up any kind of ownership. The guy I want to ask you about, and again, he's at 0.1%, so it's interesting, but Monday Q, which is one of the greatest Twitter followers, and if you're not following Monday Q info on Twitter, you're doing it wrong. He just brought up Patrick Flavin, and he's like, there's no way that he's not going to play well. And the last 2 times this cat has thrown a name out there, they've topped 15 in random events. I will go back and look, but I mean, I've like monitored this. I've never even heard of him. And he's like, I'm telling you, he's going to play well. And that's a tweet that came out while we were on this show.
Yeah, I really actually don't know who that is. And I say that as a joke a lot, but this is someone that, and it just speaks to the fact that someone like that could be in play shows you what we're dealing with down here. There's a lot of opportunity for names to really change their lives. Honestly, you only get a couple chances sometimes at a situation like this. So I don't think it's the craziest thing to put some of those guys in your portfolio. I think it's very hard to lock them down. Chat mentioned Dari Vanderwalt. He's been playing okay. I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world. I looked at Sean O'Hare, as crazy as that sounds. He's someone that he had some major injuries and he's gotten back and he's looked okay at times, gotten some reps recently. It's just hard to find anything that's going to give you a ton of confidence here. Ben Martin is down here at 65, But again, you're not going to find consistent made cuts. I think this is last man in. I love the rest of my lineup. That's about it.
Yeah, Sean O'Hare is actually the guy that we spent I think that I spent the most time talking about yesterday. He really kind of sticks out in the range for me. We've seen him have some crazy upside 15 years ago, 10 years ago. He had a major issue with his dad that kind of like derailed his career a little bit. Ended up getting really close to his in-laws and kind of righted the ship. I think his father-in-law might still be his caddy. I'm not sure, but Sean O'Hare, definitely a guy that at 2.4%, it makes sense that he's getting at least some ownership here in this range, but I think it's deserved. You've got like one or two guys that you would even want to like try to take a shot on lower than him. So he's really kind of the end of it for me. I'm going to have over that for sure. Probably the only guy that has any kind of discernible form like in this entire sub 6,700 range.
Yeah, again, I think that I wouldn't want to mess around down here a ton, mostly because as we talked about at the top, what are you really paying for? Like, I don't think there's a huge difference between Fitzy, Bez, and some of the guys you're going to find in the nines. They're a little safer. They're certainly got more pedigree and experience at times, and I wouldn't be sad to get them in my lineups, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to have to jam two sub sevens to do just that. So for me, I'd go a little more balanced. You've got guys like Guido, and we mentioned, I think the upper sevens is my favorite range. Hubbard, Hardy, Uline, Herbert, Smalley types. And then you've got Russell Knox as chalk there. So before, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to throw out one name,
Please.
One flyer. I just want to have one flyer because he's 6,100. And if you guys missed the show yesterday, it's a guy that is irrational. There's really no way to back up anything that he does, but he is a PGA Tour winner and a winner on a coastal track, Pebble Beach, be it. Ted Potter Jr. is 6,100. And I can't explain in DFS when this guy just randomly pops off, but in 150, you should have a couple shares.
Don't mind it. Just knowing what I know about Ted Potter, I just worry a little that he is so pure with the irons at times that it could be washed away by the wind. But again, if you're going to tell me there's a guy like that down there that, you know, once in a blue moon, when he pops, he gets in the mix to win the tournament. Yep. And that's what you're willing to roll the dice with. It's great to roll the dice and hope your guy finds the weekend. But wouldn't you rather have a guy with some serious upside, even if the miscut equity is through the roof? Friend of the show, Spaz, was asking, what's the most salary you would leave on the table this week? I mean, you can always go extreme. For me, I really don't ever go over $1,000. I think that's like my hard cap. I just don't think you need to do it. It's not like it can't work. To me, it's just unnecessary.
Makes way more sense to do it in a strong event than it does to do in a weak event, because the top tier here, while it might not look like a top tier, even if they don't win the golf tournament, it's not like I'm thinking that Matt Fitzpatrick, Basenhout, and Pereira, that entire the three of them, I would be shocked if one of them didn't finish in the top 15, but it's kind of the rest of the lineup and kind of what they prohibit you from being able to get a little bit more balanced. And yeah, I would be very inclined to side more with some of the talent in the field, Patrick Reed, Seamus Power, some of those guys as well, than to start my builds at like in the 9K range, leave 1,500 in salary on the table, trying to make somebody sub 7K work. I mean, there's a reason salaries work out the way they do. It's based on talent. It's based on odds to win the golf tournament. And you should kind of follow accordingly more often than not.
No doubt about that. What you also should do, I know it's swing season golf, but hit that like button, help support the show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this Wednesday night. And again, special shout out to Monkey Knife Fight, special shout out to Awesemo Odds. If you haven't been over there, go check out that content. It is time for hot takes. This whole tournament is a hot take. Is there one guy or one bet or one situation that you think is hot take worthy tonight?
I'm going to be honest. Like for me, like I normally love these kind of events to be able to bet some long shots.
Yep.
And it ends up being fun. I can't find a ton of value in the outright market of anything that I can really say. A part of it is just that there's just so many guys that it's unbelievable that this is a real golf tournament. I would want to side with Seamus Power at 20-1, but I think that that's too short of odds for him. I'm not going to be playing a lot of Thigala because of you know where his ownership is at, but 50-1 feels like a useful number. If I had to do anything, and we're seeing like Aaron Rye, his odds are even short plus 900, plus 475. That's so different as opposed to everybody else in the range. They're just too short to bet, but 60 to 1 for him to go out and win the tournament, 65 to 1 with Peter Uihlein. I think getting like 2 or 3 Euro guys with Euro Tour experience that have dealt with these kind of conditions, who aren't going to make a big deal of it, who have seen this more than once, because usually on the PGA Tour, it's catered to perfect weather and moving the schedule around so you avoid major issues like this. I think having it like 3 or 4 pieces of like former Euro Tour guys makes a lot of sense this week.
No doubt about it. I'm perfectly in line with that. I'm going to give a special shout out to Alex Smalley. Top 5 is 12 to 1. I think that's worth a shot. This is a guy that could get in the mix here. I don't know exactly where I think his best course will be in his career, and I kind of like that. Maybe he turns out to be someone that really likes coastal courses. Maybe not. But from what I've seen, there's no reason why he couldn't contend at a course like this. I'm not going crazy. I don't like the betting card, and that's something we try to be super transparent here. Sometimes it's just, you know what, pass. Take a couple shots. Don't go crazy. Don't have to have a full card every week. And for me, this is not the weeks. A lot of the prices are cratered. I don't like the top of the board. And we've seen that with swing season. Decky and these other guys have all, Sam Burns, all been really short numbers. I don't know exactly what to make of that here. So we are going to see what we can do here. But again, if you got any questions, at Eric Lindquist, at JazzRaz DFS, and certainly hop in our Discord. Always talking golf, betting, PGA, NFL, NBA, anything that you guys want, we are there for. So we're going to bounce on out of here. Special thanks to Mike behind the glass producing this show. Hit that like button on your way out, friends. Good luck this week in Bermuda, and we will certainly be back next week with more golf. All right, friends.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
My internet is getting